Good day, friends. I hope you're doing well. It's Frankyrose. Welcome to my channel. So, Adam Montgomery was in court today, so I thought maybe we would take a look at it. And I do have some paperwork on this case to go through, so let's get into this.
We talked last night, we talked this morning. I believe we're in agreement in terms of the different scheduling choices that the court probably wants to hear about. We're looking at, depending on the court schedule, trying the firearms case first. And we're looking at a time frame of hopefully late March into early April for that one.
How many days?
I think we said a week and a half.
I think so. Why don't you give me the lay of the land, and then I'll talk to you about how realistic I think that is.
In terms of the dates we're looking for?
Just in terms of the dates, yeah, we may need to move things around, but
So I think it's probably my calendar that's most strict in that time frame. I have one trial period. Basically, for me, it would have to be the weeks of the 27th and the 3rd, March 27th and April 3rd.
so it does coincide with my schedule, but I need to look and see what else is already on there and see. So I know that I have at least one lengthy trial with an incarcerated defendant scheduled in that same period, who I think has been incarcerated longer. So I'm going to have to, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to change that. Give me another option if it weren't to be that month.
The May one that you thought would be continued?
Yeah, it sounds like I have sounds like May.
They say approximately 7 to 8 days instead of about a week and a half. Did you see there's noted in there that it's has to go unless we can do it sooner?
Oh, April 3rd.
Later.
Okay.
2-week period, so if don't do.
So let's see if we can.
So we have some flexibility there, but let's we would do it.
The change, I told you that the new information changed significantly the case.
Mhm.
And so
Okay.
that's what I was talking about. Additional witnesses that I would probably be calling has made that change.
Okay.
And perhaps going at more information on the cell phone downloads and stuff.
Okay. Yes. All right. Other than if there were experts related to this,
I don't know if this is just strictly setting dates. I've got some paperwork to go through as well, if this is the case.
have 6 weeks basically of consecutive. That there is ample time for the court to schedule your hearings, but also to make sure other cases get heard, which is going to be, we're going to have.
And if you want me to file a
Range. So I'll work with the clerk. There may be some moving parts for me, so we'll get you a date as soon as we can. It might not happen today.
And I'd
Okay.
say to the extent the court can accommodate my preference, I know it's not yet scheduled definitively, but Stratford County, there's a double first degree case that I'm in that's
Well, okay. Let's see here. Let's take a look at this paperwork, guys. Okay. So, State of New Hampshire. State of New Hampshire versus Adam Montgomery. The docket number. The defendant is charged with second-degree assault, endangering the welfare of a child, and interference with custody. In docket number, defendant is charged with 2 counts of each, and armed career criminal felon in possession, theft, and receiving stolen property. The defendant now moves to suppress the statement made by police during an interview on January 4th, 2022. Moves to suppress statements made to police during an interview on January 4th, 2022. Okay. The court held a hearing September 8th, 2022 for reasons that follow. The defendant's motion is granted in part and denied in part. January 4th, 2022, Detectives Dunleavy and Riley conducted an interview with the defendant. The interview took place in Manchester Police Department and was audio and video recorded. I'll see if I can find that video because I've seen it. The interview began with Dunleavy reading the Miranda rights, and the defendant read each right out loud and indicated that he understood his rights. The conversation by discussing the defendant's daughter, Harmony, whose whereabouts were and remain unknown. Approximately 8 minutes into the interrogation, when the defendant asked why he was being charged with second-degree assault. And let's see here, Dunleavy. Well, your daughter had some injuries that you know about when you lived in Guilford Street. Defendant. No, I do not. What are you referring to? Dunleavy. Well, you were there. I wasn't, right? Defendant. What are you referring to? Dunleavy. I'm referring to her having some good marks. Defendant. What are you referring to? Dunleavy. Marks that were left on her by you. Defendant. Absolutely not. I have nothing else to say. One thing I'm noticing about him is he's done this a time or two. Career criminal would not surprise me at all. I haven't looked into all of his previous charges, but you can tell that he's had some practice at this. Let's see here. After his last statement, the defendant sat hunched forward and his arms crossed, avoiding eye contact. After a pause of approximately 15 seconds, Detective Dunleavy began to talk again by saying, like I'm. Defendant interrupted by shaking his head and saying no. Detective Dunleavy continued, saying that he had talked to the defendant earlier because they were worried about his daughter. The defendant accused the police of being out of line with the way in which they were approaching the conversation. Detective Dunleavy said, "So explain to me, how are we out of line?" The defendant said, "I have nothing to explain." Detective Dunleavy said, "But wouldn't you rather explain it so we can make sense of it than just have other people's side of the story?" The interview continued for another 12 minutes until the defendant stated, you know what, man? Like, I don't even want to talk anymore. Like, this is just beating around the bush. It seems a little too silly to me. Detective Dunleavy responded that he was trying to give the defendant an opportunity to speak his piece. And the defendant said, no, I get what you're saying. I just got nothing else to say, man. After a short pause, the defendant asked for a cigarette and then mentioned again how he felt the conversation was pointless. The police reiterated that they were just giving him the opportunity to explain himself. The conversation picked up again after this exchange. Hi, James. Hey, Maxie. This is very interesting, actually. They're doing a lot of the interview on here. So let's see here. A few minutes later, the detective told the defendant there were some discrepancies between the defendant was telling them and that what they were hearing from other people. Specifically, Detective Riley stated, you're saying you brought her, Harmony, down to Massachusetts. Someone said that she, Harmony's mother, came up from Mass. The defendant responded, I never once said I went to Mass. Detective Riley said, so you're saying she came up from Mass? The defendant then said, I'm not saying anything else. Detective Riley asked, why is it you refuse to talk about her every time we bring her up? This prompted the defendant to continue talking briefly. Shortly thereafter, however, Detective Riley accused the defendant of continually locking up on them, and the defendant stated, I've got nothing else to say. Detective Dunleavy continued to press forward, talking about how he knew the defendant cared about Harmony, and explained that all he was trying to do was help her, and that he needed the defendant's help. The defendant re-engaged with the police, and the conversation continued for a few minutes before once again the defendant said, I've got nothing else to say. That's it, guys. I have nothing else to say. The police attempted to get the defendant to speak again, peppering him with questions about Harmony. The defendant repeatedly asserted they had nothing else to say, and then finally said he wanted a lawyer. And at that time, the police terminated the interview. So the analysis, the defendant argues that he invoked his right to remain silent during the interrogation on a number of occasions, after a knowing and voluntary waiver of the Miranda rights. Law enforcement officers may continue questioning until and unless suspects clearly request an attorney. And it cited Davis versus the United States. If an accused makes a statement concerning the right to counsel that is ambiguous or equivocal or makes no statement, the police are not required to end the interrogation or ask questions to clarify whether the accused wants to invoke his or her Miranda rights. There is no principal reason to adopt different standards for determining when an accused has invoked his Miranda rights to remain silent, and the Miranda right to counsel to determine whether, after initially waiving the constitutional rights under Miranda, the defendant subsequently invoked his rights. His statement under the total of the circumstances, an expression of doubt or uncertainty, cannot be considered unequivocal. The defendant argues that he invoked his rights to remain silent when he told the police he had nothing else to say. I don't know about that one, you guys. What do you think? Like, again, I'm in Canada, and it sounds like a lot of this stuff there is state to state. But here in Canada, you have to literally say, I don't want to talk to you. I want to speak to my lawyer. You have to request a lawyer. Otherwise, they can keep going. They don't have to stop. The state objects, arguing that the defendant's statement at the time did not constitute an ambiguous and unequivocal invocation. The state concedes, however, that the defendant did invoke his rights to remain silent when, at approximately 22 minutes into the interview, he said, I don't even want to talk anymore. defendant's statement on January 4th, 2022. Therefore, the court grants the defendant's request to suppress the defendant's statements from that point forward and confines its analysis to the first exchange identified by the defendant. So what? They are saying that that is him invoking? I don't even want to talk anymore. Therefore, the court grants the defendant's request to suppress the defendant's statement from that point forward. Oh, wow. In considering the totality of the circumstances, the court begins by noting that the defendant initially expressed no hesitation about speaking with the police. He expressed a clear understanding of his Miranda rights when going over the waiver form, and he readily waived his rights and agreed to speak to the police. The interrogation of the conversational tone, with both sides participating and neither side raising voices, despite accusing the police of generally trying to make him look like a monster. In my opinion, he is a monster. In my opinion. The defendant answered the detective's questions and asked some of his own. The alleged invocation at issue arose in the context of Detective Dunleavy explaining the nature of the second-degree assault charge in response to a direct accusation that the defendant had physically harmed his daughter. The defendant stated, "Absolutely not. I have nothing else to say." The statement considered in this context indicates that the defendant did not wish to respond to the accusation and that he had physically harmed his daughter, rather than a clear desire to terminate the interrogation in its entirety. Indeed, the defendant accused the police of being out of line with the way they were approaching the conversation, stating, "You're sitting there telling me that right off the rip, that there's something wrong with my daughter because of me. No, that's bullshit." The defendant continued to respond as the police continued to ask questions and make statements on the topic. While the defendant's statement considered in isolation could be interpreted as indicating a desire to no longer speak to the police, when considered in context, it indicates a desire not to speak about a particular topic, citing State versus Poulet. Conduct indicating that a defendant is uncomfortable or apprehensive about speaking with police about a particular topic without more is not ambiguous invocation of the right to remain silent, particularly when the defendant continues to speak with the officer and does not firmly state that he wishes for the interview to end. Upon consideration of the totality of the circumstances, the court finds the defendant's statement that he had nothing else to say was most ambiguous and was insufficient to invoke, his right to remain silent. Invoke the Miranda right to silence, and accused must do so unambiguously. Therefore, the statements made prior to his invocation at approximately 22 minutes into the interrogation need not be suppressed. So they are taking that, they're cutting it off at the 22-minute mark. According to the foregoing reasons, the defendant's motion to suppress is denied with respect to any essential statements made prior to the 21 minutes and 44 seconds in State Exhibit 5, and granted with respect to any statement made after that time. So ordered October 19th, 2022. Okay. Let's see here. And that's what we got there, guys. I am going to... Oh, that's okay, Perry. That's okay. I'm just going to look. And I'm sure I did one on harmony not too long ago that we can look at. And I'll see if there's anything else out about today's court date. And if so, I will either, depending on what it is, I'll either add it to my community tab, or if it's something longer, I will do another live or a video on it. So I am looking, maybe it's a ways back here, when they did that search of that house. They took the fridge and they took all sorts of really not nice things. So what do you guys think? Should he have been able to suppress anything after that 22-minute mark? Okay, here we go, guys. Arrived on Tuesday morning at the home in Manchester. Good day, friends. I hope you're doing well. It's Frankyrose. Welcome to my channel. Well, as we all know, the search has been on again for Harmony Montgomery. She was 5 years old when she disappeared, but it was 2 years later that her family decided to let people know that she was no longer with them. So what I've found is from Crime Online, and they put out a very good article on what is going on. The woman or people who are now living in that apartment have been speaking to the media. So photos have been released of the apartment, and Crime Online did report that the FBI, Manchester Police, the U.S. Marshal's Office, and the State Attorney General's Office arrived on Tuesday morning at the home in Manchester where Harmony's father, Adam Montgomery, and his wife at the time, Kayla Montgomery. Manchester Fire Department was set up and had an incident tent, while the city's Department of Public Works was dropping cameras down the sewer pipes, and the FBI agents watched the camera views from a utility truck. Investigators were seen hauling out a very large fridge, if you guys remember. It was wrapped in black plastic and they were carting it out on a dolly. There was that along with other items that were wrapped in brown paper. The person who's living in the apartment now is only going by the name Ginger, and she did share some photos of the home's interior. Although officials removed the refrigerator from the apartment, Ginger said she thought it was a newer refrigerator and that it was probably not there when Adam and the step monster were living there. The fridge is supposedly a newer fridge. So we'll have to see what happens with that. The kitchenette and hallway tiles have been removed, but investigators said the most interest is in a small closet in the bedroom. The closet was completely ripped up. They took all of her things out of there, and then they took the walls from the closet. There was also a shelf and a bar, and they took that as well. Ginger said police also cut a hole in the bathroom to gain access to the pipes. Doorknobs and faucets were also taken. She said her heart is breaking. According to police, Harmony was officially reported missing in December of 2021. Court documents that have been released earlier this year said that police received a call from Harmony's biological mother. Her name is Crystal Sorey, and she called in on November 18th, 2021, and reported Harmony missing. Sorey told the police that Harmony's father had physical custody of Harmony and she could not get in touch with him. She also said that she lost custody of Harmony in 2018 due to some drug issues at the time. But according to Crystal, Adam Montgomery blocked her calls and blocked her social media and refused to allow her to talk to Harmony anytime after Easter of 2019. New Hampshire police did reach out to the New Hampshire Department of Children's Services to find Adam, but by December 27th, 2021, they couldn't find him. So police began searching for Adam when they learned that Harmony had not been physically seen since 2019, October, November. Police also spoke with Adam's brother, Michael, who said that Adam was abusive towards Harmony and at one point had given her a black eye. Oh my God, this man. Harmony is the sweetest looking little girl. I don't understand people that can go that far with a child. It's not natural. Police at that point reached out to Adam's cousin, and Kevin said he witnessed this happening. Adam at one point said to his cousin Kevin, I bashed her around the house. Kevin told investigators that Adam was upset at Harmony when her little brother started crying because she was told to watch him. So, in anger, Adam allegedly spanked Harmony, made her scrub a freaking toilet with a toothbrush. And timeouts, they lasted for hours with her standing in a corner. On December 31st, 2021, police did find Adam Montgomery sleeping in his car with a new girlfriend. The girlfriend told police that Adam never once talked about Harmony. When investigators interviewed Kayla Montgomery, she said that she had not talked to Adam since November of 2021 and that she had not seen Harmony since late 2019. Adam told police that Harmony's mother came to pick her up on Thanksgiving 2019 and is saying that he has not seen her since then. Police said that Adam Montgomery's statements are inconsistent, secretive, with the suspect telling them things such as, I have nothing to say, and if I'm not under arrest, I'm leaving. Caring fellow, hey? Oh my goodness. Adam Montgomery was arrested and charged with assault for hitting Harmony in 2019. Earlier, he was charged with 8 firearm related charges, and at this point, no one has been charged with Harmony's disappearance. One of the last times that Harmony was seen was back in October 2019 at a home off of Guildford Street in Manchester, New Hampshire, after a family spat broke out. Kevin Montgomery and Adam Montgomery left with Harmony and broke off contact with a lot of family members. Kevin Montgomery said Harmony looked like a scared puppy the last time he saw her. So why do people not step in? This makes no sense to me. Why do people not step in? Now she's gone. So in the meantime, step monster Kayla Montgomery was arrested on fraud charges for allegedly continuing to collect benefits for Harmony, even though she was no longer in the household. In May, she got some new charges, receiving stolen firearms. And this was about a week after Adam Montgomery was charged with stealing a rifle and a shotgun. Wow, A1 citizens. So I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Kayla Montgomery was out on bail for a while, and that was back on May 6th. Prior to her being arrested on the gun charge, prosecutors say they made a plea deal with her on the fraud charges, although details are not being released. A hearing on the agreement was scheduled for June 9th. The status of that hearing is unclear. None of the charges are related to Harmony's disappearance, officials are saying. But Crystal Sorry, Harmony's mom, told WMUR that karma is real. I knew she wouldn't last long, and I hope this only brings us closer to bringing Harmony home. So, little Harmony is being described as about 4 feet tall, about 50 pounds, blonde hair, and blue eyes. She is blind in her right eye and does need her glasses. There have been some updated photos of her, so I will try to include that with this. So today, Harmony would be 8 if she hadn't gotten gone. It's a little bit spooky what's going on right now. It was a large scale search. So if you happen to know anything, no tip is too small, who have now set up a dedicated 24/7 tip line. Now this number is 603 203 6060. So they are asking that basically they're asking if you have witnessed something to, oh, it's thundering. If you have witnessed something, that would be the number that you use. So I will probably do another video on Harmony. I have found another couple articles with some really good timelines. But for now, friends, that is where we're at. Basically waiting for lab reports and I don't know what else. But I'm assuming that we're going to hear something in the next few weeks. The family has been told to not expect positive answers. So, yes. Well, we're getting a thunderstorm. The lightning is intense. So, okay, so that's what we've got. I am going gonna get rid of this, come back. So yeah, it's amazing. My dog is in every single video, every single live. She's always got to make her presence known. So that's where we are with that right now. The paperwork was interesting. We're not hearing a lot of stuff coming out on Harmony. It's really sad. So when I do see things, I'll make sure that I put it out. Again, it's either going to be on the community board or I'll do a live or a video on it. You know, she was the sweetest looking little girl. You can tell she was, she just constantly had that scared look on her face, every single picture. It's heartbreaking. And it sounds like he may have, she just glowed. Let's just hope that she gets some justice. She got a very raw deal, you know, the poor little gal. And she was missing for how long before anybody really knew? I think it was 2 years? It was a long darn time. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted with anything that I come up with. If anyone comes up with anything that I haven't seen, feel free to email me or message me on Discord, and I will respond to you as soon as I can. So for now, friends, once again, thank you ever so much for being here with me. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you